In this massive race to go digital, why do so many companies seem to hit a financial wall? I mean, they launch these incredible new services, they invest millions, but the profits, they just don't show up. Today, we're going to dig into the hidden traps of digitalization and, more importantly, uncover a framework to make sure your digital ventures actually, pay off. Does this feel a little too familiar? You're pouring money and people into smart products, into AI, into all the cool stuff. But the financial returns are, let's just say, a bit underwhelming. If you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. This problem is so common, it actually has a name. It's called the digitalization paradox, and it's this weird phenomenon where companies, especially in manufacturing, make these huge investments in digital offerings, but they just can't seem to make any real money from them. It's this super frustrating cycle of high investment and really low, sometimes even negative returns. But here's the good news. This paradox isn't some law of nature. It's not inevitable. It's really just caused by a few common and, believe me, very avoidable pitfalls. So let's dive in, let's expose these traps, and then we'll build a framework to help you navigate right past them. So, researchers have done these deep dives into leading industrial companies, and they've pinpointed three major traps that consistently, almost predictably, lead to failure. You can think of these as the hidden reefs that can sink even the most promising digital ship. The first trap, well, it's all about where the idea comes from. It's the classic technology push problem. Okay, so what happens is companies that are really good at engineering get super excited about what a new technology can do. The problem is they often forget to ask what the customer actually needs it to do. So they end up building this amazing feature-packed solution without ever stopping to check if customers will actually pay for that specific value. And wow, this quote from a service manager just captures the pain perfectly. Just imagine, you spend 9 months working with a customer, building what you think is a highly valuable service, only to find out they think it's worth a tiny fraction of what you expected. That's a really costly and, frankly, demoralizing place to be.
All right, so the second trap moves away from the idea itself and into the delivery. This one is all about making promises that your organization simply can't keep.
So a company launches some ambitious new digital service, maybe a site optimization service, but then they realize, whoops, our backend isn't ready for this. The processes, the skills of our people, the internal alignment, none of it is actually in place to deliver on the big value we just promised. This quote from a sales manager just nails the problem, right? You can have the best digital solution in the entire world, but if your sales team is still wired to sell physical products based on technical specs, they have no idea how to sell a complex, outcome-based service. The result? Unhappy customers and a big financial loss. And that brings us to the third and final trap. This is the one that hits the bottom line hard. This is the financial trap. You see it all the time. Companies get so hyped about a digital opportunity that they just jump in without having a clue about the real profit formula. They totally underestimate all the hidden costs. Things like hiring specialized staff or ongoing platform maintenance, and they completely miscalculate how these new revenue models are going to perform out in the real world. Okay, so those are the three big traps. It can feel like you're walking through a minefield, can't it? But it really doesn't have to be that way. There is a systematic method to vet these opportunities before you commit all that time and money to make sure you don't fall victim to this whole digitalization paradox. The solution is pretty simple, really. Stop guessing and start getting structured. We're talking about a 3-phase evaluation framework that forces you to pause and make much smarter go or no-go decisions. And look, this isn't about slowing innovation down. It's about being deliberate, not just being fast. You can see how this framework directly counters the 3 traps we just talked about. Phase A, assess value. That stops you from building something nobody wants to pay for. Phase B, manage risks. That makes sure you can actually deliver what you promise. And Phase C, model financials. Well, that confirms the whole thing is actually going to make you money. Okay, so let's break this down. Let's look at how this actually works in practice by digging into the key questions you absolutely have to ask in each phase. So Phase A is your direct defense against trap number 1. This is where you totally shift your focus from what can we build to what problem can we solve. And you have to go deep here, using data to find the customer's real pain points, not just the surface level stuff they tell you about. The goal is to land on a unique value proposition that the customer looks at and says, yes, I agree, that is worth paying for. Next up, phase B is how you sidestep trap number 2. This is where you get your team in a room and you brainstorm every single thing that could possibly go wrong. I mean, think about new risks, like a customer who starts overusing their equipment because, hey, they don't have to pay for maintenance anymore. The point here isn't to eliminate every single risk, that's impossible, but it's to find the really critical ones and then redesign your business model to manage them smartly. And finally, phase C is your shield against that financial trap. This is where you need to get a little pessimistic. You have to stress test your numbers, run all those what-if scenarios. What if demand drops 30%? What if our platform costs are 50% higher than we thought? This kind of financial wargaming is what makes sure your contract is rock solid and that the business model is robust enough to actually turn a profit. This slide right here, this really brings it all home. Think of this table as your go/no-go checklist. Answering these key questions in this specific order is what transforms a vague idea into a solid business case. And notice how the questions build on each other, right? You can't really assess risk if you haven't defined the value first. This isn't about adding bureaucracy. It's a recipe for smart, profitable innovation. So after all this work, after all this analysis, it all comes down to one thing, that final, critical decision. So here's the most crucial point of all. The temptation is always to jump on opportunities, especially when they're driven by a big customer request or an internal sales target. But it's the discipline to systematically evaluate every single opportunity before you sign that contract. That is what separates the companies that fall into the digitalization paradox from the ones that truly profit from it. So that really just leaves one final, crucial question for you. The next time one of those can't-miss digital opportunities lands on your desk, are you going to have the discipline to ask the hard questions before you say yes? Or will you risk becoming just another cautionary tale in the digitalization paradox? Thanks for tuning in.